It's time for another late-night B-movie gym. This time, it's 1946's Shock, produced by 20th Century Fox and starring Vincent Price, Lynn Bari, Anabel Shaw, and Frank Latimore. This one, coming in with a runtime of just 69 minutes, really packs a wallop. It's got everything from murder to questionable psychology, love affairs, and exhumed bodies. So, as always, here's a rundown without any real spoilers, because if you haven't seen this film, I don't want to ruin the shock.
Mrs. Stewart has had a nervous collapse.
What a shame.
Janet has arrived in San Francisco to meet her husband, Paul. He was reported dead during the war. Then she learned he was alive and a POW.
I thought for 2 years he was dead, and now I don't know if he's been hurt or what.
And after 2 years as prisoner, he's finally returning home. Already emotionally fragile, Janet waits to be reunited.
Did my husband come in?
But before Paul can arrive, Janet witnesses something terrible, and that sends her into a state of shock. When Paul arrives, he finds Janet unresponsive and immediately calls for the house doctor.
I think she's suffering from some sort of shock.
And that doctor calls in the psychiatrist, Dr. Cross.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
I appreciate your promptness.
Only
Not at all.
Dr. Cross is the one who sent Janet into shock in the first place. And when he realizes that, he does everything in his power to keep her from recovering and revealing the true circumstances around the death of his wife.
But then I'd better take her to my place. She's going to need someone with her night and day.
Dr. Cross has a private sanatorium just out of town.
Dr. Cross convinces Paul to immediately send Janet to his clinic where he can help her. Hey, Paul, I'm going to need you to do a little research first. With the help of his mistress, Elaine, played by Lynn Bari, Dr. Cross repeatedly performs medical malpractice.
Convince her husband that she's insane. We can keep her here as long as it suits us. Then have her committed.
And as the days go by, Janet does not improve. And Paul's suspicions grow until he finally seeks a second opinion.
I'm not sure I completely agree this was all brought on by her husband's late arrival.
Then, an unconnected crime draws attention to Cross's dead wife.
If it's all right with you, Doctor, we'd like to have Mrs. Cross's body exhumed.
And Paul finally realizes that maybe, just maybe, Janet is in real trouble, leading Cross and Elaine to accelerate their plan to silence her once and for all.
If she's out of the way, we've nothing to worry about.
Directed by Alfred Werker and shot in 19 days and made on the cheap, Shock, while not entirely original and somewhat formulaic, is overall a well-constructed, well-paced, and well-acted B-programmer. And Vincent Price gets top billing here for the first time in his career. Co-star Lynn Bari has always been a favorite of mine, a B-movie regular. She was more often than not the other woman, the dangerous woman, and the woman with the past, and she brings the sexiness and sultriness to this role as Price's scheming accomplice. Where Price's Cross does begin to question the ethics and morality of what he is doing and what he has done, Bari, well, she's cool with all of it.
The shock will wear off in a couple of weeks at the most.
It'll wear off if you let it.
Anabel Shaw as Janet is all big eyes and blank stares and torment, which is exactly what is needed for the role. She's got a surreal dream sequence that is one of the highlights of the film. And Frank Latimore in the role of Paul does a convincing job as the husband returned from the dead, worried about his wife. Although, look, if he were my husband, I really would have wanted him to ask some more questions before shipping me off to some random doctor's clinic. But this is really Vincent Price's film, his first leading role and his first film after Laura. This one would set the stage for his singular career that would follow. Shock, along with films like Whirlpool, The Dark Mirror, Possessed, and Spellbound, is one of a series of post-war films that revolved, sometimes dubiously, around psychiatry and mental health issues. And this was much to the chagrin of critics and professionals who accused the movies of not taking mental health care seriously, and even making the field look, well, a little shady and less than reputable. Of course, the plot is quite over the top and not meant to be taken all that seriously. And like a lot of these films, Shock does suffer from a somewhat abrupt ending, and as the film ends, you'll probably be asking, hey, did they find Elaine? But it's a great late-night find, and if you're looking for something to watch, especially if you're a fan of Vincent Price, you can't go wrong by pressing play on Shock. Hey, if you happen to check out Shock, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. There are 8 million stories in the cinema cities. This has been one.